way. It's quite insidious, like the way that they can try to gain entry to your life, try to kind of pull on your heartstrings. So, you know, the ones that are just, there's so many terribles that you see within the world of financial crime. But the ability to trick a person by using, let's say, an elderly person who's recently lost his spouse. They're lonely and they're afraid. And the obituary was in the news, right? So unfortunately, they are an incredible target for scammers. And so they then, oftentimes they're not as technology savvy. And so they can kind of get targeted in a way that's really, it's just terrible to see. What's really great though is you hear great stories. I have to say, you do hear great stories from the banks where they teach their tellers, just if someone is coming and suddenly wanting to make a major withdrawal, they have been taught and taught and taught, do not allow that to happen until you ask like 100 questions. I mean, and maybe for you all, if you're going to the bank and trying to make an unusual withdrawal, you're like, gosh, why are they asking me so many questions? But they're doing it for all the right reasons. But that's the kind of thing, the training that happens on the ground. But it also has to be behind the scenes. When that wire comes in, we have to be able to stop that wire. We have to be able to make sure that at the end of the day, systematically, we're also able to block those types of bad transactions and make sure that these criminals just are not successful. Well, at the end of the day, what investors look for is some level of predictability. And anytime you have a period of time where there's not a lot of predictability, the first instinct of an investor is to go risk off and to kind of take money off the table, sit on the sidelines, try to understand what's going to happen, and then start to redeploy their capital in a smart way into those companies or sectors where they think, okay, this is going to be resilient. This actually could be a really interesting sector to get into. This, maybe I'll stay away for a while. But that takes time. And usually, it's like this moment. It's like at the beginning of COVID, you saw a massive reduction of risk at the very beginning of COVID. And then you saw monetary action happen. And that allowed people to say, okay, wait, I think this is actually could be an interesting period of time. Not every company is going to be affected in the same way. So let me start to redeploy my capital into it. But it became a little bit, I would say, a little bit more of a known environment when everyone realized we could actually operate really successfully remotely. We could figure out the world around us. I think right now we're in that midst of what is the world going to look like? What is this going to mean for rates? How are we going to be able to operate in this world? Where are the demands? Where's the demand? How's the demand going to change? And none of that is yet known. And so that is where we're in that kind of swirl right now, where investors are just trying to get to a point of predictability. Predictability is what really drives the economy forward. And so, yes, there's moments in time when this activity level could be, beneficial to market operators. But at the end of the day, I think we all prefer a world where we have predictability. That just creates a massive amount of investor traffic. But why that's important is really to understand that the inner workings of the markets, the inner workings of the financial system have really worked really well. The resilience of the U.S. market structure and the market infrastructure has been incredibly resilient through this period of time. And I think that's something where people don't really think about it, but it is such an important part of making sure that as investors are changing their positions and as they're managing through all the news, that they can do that instantaneously in a frictionless environment. I think the entire industry has done well, and of course I think Nasdaq's